mystery is so delicious. Let's embrace it. Let's embrace the
Ooh,
mystery and stop trying to analyze it.
ooh, I love that. Mystery is
Mm,
delicious. Ooh,
mm.
very good, very good. So, Marianne, I have a few questions that I want to ask you before we wrap up. I already have an idea for a part two, potentially part three, if you're up for it, because this is like there's so many different conversations that we could make episodes of. We've covered a lot of topics here, which is amazing. And then I also want to give you a chance to. You do have a book, so I want to give you a chance to mention to everybody where you can find that and all that. But before we get into that, a couple things. So, why is intuition, in your opinion? Why is intuition so important? And you've mentioned it's so important like now, like nowadays more than ever. And I'm feeling this too, that there's like this people are waking up, around me and myself. I feel like I'm waking up and I'm getting like this higher level of consciousness that I definitely didn't have a year ago and certainly not 5 years ago. So why is intuition so important in your opinion?
I'm utterly in love with intuition because it is the connection with who you really are.
Mm,
So, what I was speaking of before about how we're conditioned up until the age of 7, we're in basically a state of hypnosis, and you acquire this false self. And most people live from that false self. And you're out of, you see, when I was growing up anyway, the feminine wasn't valued, intuition wasn't valued, it was actually mocked. And
mm,
so I was never, encouraged to follow my intuition. It's just it was kind of looked down upon, which is a tragedy. But there you go. Let's move on and change that now. Life becomes very difficult, and life's a struggle when you don't follow your intuition, because all this resistance comes up, and you're going to live in a soup of resistance and struggle if you do not follow your intuition.
mm.
When you decide, when you are courageous enough to make the choice to open up to following the guidance of your intuition, your life can transform. It's really that simple. And it's so beautiful, and it's closer than breath. I mean, it's not, again, something that's out of arm's reach that you need to worry about. Everybody has access to this. It is ever present. I mean, my God, how comforting. How
Mm,
comforting is that?
mm-hmm.
That you the stream of guidance coming from the divine through your authentic self, and it's ever present. Have you ever heard of anything more comforting in your life? I
That
mean,
that does sound makes me feel light, even just you saying it, like just
God,
light and expansive.
yes,
Yes.
you're not alone.
Yeah.
We 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 can't be alone. We're not alone. We're never alone. And this beautiful energy surrounds us. It comes from within, it comes from without. It's coming from our authentic self, it's coming through our authentic self from the divine. And you can receive answers to what you need to know, what your next step is. That's why it's so important. I mean, off the top of my head, that's why it's so important, because all of a sudden you can glide through life. You can tap into flow in your life more instead of this frigging resistance, which drives us all crazy. Oh my God. Resistance is just, it's just the cause of so much suffering, isn't it?
Sure
That
is. Yep.
pushing. Oh
Yep.
God. It's just
Yes.
awful. But I'm also grateful for the resistance that I went through in my life, because it does teach us so much. But then I
Mm.
got to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm so
I've
grateful.
learned
I'm so
enough. Yeah.
grateful. I'm so grateful for
Yeah.
those amazing lessons. And now
Yes.
I'm done. I
Right.
want more smoothness. Now, always stuff will happen, and it's how you approach it and how you, again, don't resist it. When problems or challenges
Mm.
arise in your life, isn't it better, to not resist them? Isn't it better to just deal with them and know how to deal with them?
Of course.
And so
Yeah.
knowing, so I really should address that. I don't know if that was one of your
Right.
questions, but I should address.
Yeah,
So, for example,
absolutely. Yep.
what's the difference between intuition? Like how? Because it's frustrating. I'm not just going to sit here and say, "Oh, yeah, find your intuition." What's the difference between your intuition and that chattery, egoic
Sure. Sure.
voice in your head? Well, I think we all know. We all know the answer to that. The chattery, egoic voice feels heavy, and usually, funny enough, sounds like the voice of a parent or a teacher.
Mm.
Shoulds, it's full of shoulds, and it's full of musts, and it's full of
Mm-hmm.
pressure.
Mm-hmm.
the voice of your intuition is always, without exception, loving.
Mm-hmm.
It's always subtle, which
Mm.
my human part finds irritating. It's like, do you have to be so subtle?
Yeah.
Like, could you not turn up the volume a bit?
Yeah.
But then I learned to go get quieter. I learned to get quieter so I could hear it more readily. Um, it's always loving. It's always calm, and it always feels light. So again, what can you do? You tune into your body, your feeling centers, and you take the energy of whatever problem, situation, whatever it is going on in your life, or could even be like the food that you're wondering, is this good for me? Like gluten or dairy or something. Small things, big things. Should I marry this person? Should I eat bread? Like everything. Why not? It's all part of life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you kind of hold the energy. I don't mean to sound abstract by that. You can't do it wrong, okay? I don't want to leave anybody out here. Just hold the energy of think about the problem. I don't want to say think because I don't want you in your head, but kind of drop down and just hold the energy, clear your mind a bit. And just ask yourself, or even go to the outcome, if I, marry this person or whatever it is, how would I feel? And you tune into your body. You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. You're in your body. How's it feel in your body? And usually in your solar plexus or your chest, usually you will feel either light, like you just said, and expansive,
Mm-hmm.
or heavy and contracted.
Mm-hmm.
So if you listen to what your body is telling you, you can actually get the awareness, get the answers for what you're asking. And the reason you feel light and expansive is because that's your true nature. You're resonating with more of what you really are. You are light. You are expansion itself. So anything that resonates with that is going to be so-called good for you. It's going to be the right thing for you. Now, listen, I just want to say something that popped into my head that I better say. Sometimes it might be difficult. It's not, oh, great, it's good, oh, wonderful, everything's going to be amazing. Like, for example, you might have to leave someone. You might have to distance yourself from, say, somebody in your family of origin who's disrespecting you constantly.
Mm-hmm.
You might have to do something that's maybe difficult or uncomfortable, but then afterwards it still feels light and expansive and your life can change. So I just want to put that caveat in. Something might feel a little bit, or even giving up what I was saying, bread or gluten or something.
Sure.
Yeah, there might be a little bit of, unpleasant, like discomfort after you do that. But the point is, it's still good for you in the long run. Do you
Gotcha.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like if I was, for example, because I love bread. So if I were to be diagnosed or if I developed some kind of sensitivity to wheat or
Yeah.
gluten and I had to give it up, on one hand, yes, it's going to make me feel better, but damn, I sure love bread. So there will be a degree of learning curve,
Yeah.
uncomfortability, kind of a victim story may show up. Why me? As we've talked about it in this interview, just allow that to show up. Don't suppress
Yeah.
it. Get curious about those types of feelings. So yeah, no, it totally makes sense. Yeah, that's great. I love
And
that.
anyway, sorry to butt in here in a unrelated thing, but
Do
you
it.
can always make bread from other types of flour, not
There we go.
just wheat flour. You can get
Yes.
gram flour like chickpea flour. You can get almond flour for sweeter dishes. There are all these flours that if you look them up, I literally I looked them up. I didn't hear. I've never heard of most of them. So
Yeah.
I bought some to experiment. I hardly ever use wheat now, and
Oh,
I
interesting.
like bread. So I make pizza with chickpea flour. I do a
Oh,
base that I don't even have to knead with my hands. It just kind
right.
of came through intuitively. Here we go.
Yeah, here we go.
Because I was tired of the mess and of kneading dough, and
Yeah.
I'm not into wheat anyway. And I just got this idea, that download an idea for a recipe, and which is just chickpea flour or gram flour, I think you guys call it, mixed with all this fabulous seaseoning, like say Himalayan salt, pepper, basil, oregano, or oregano. You say
Yeah.
herb, I say
Yeah.
herb. You guys
Yeah.
say herb,
Yeah.
oregano,
Yeah.
basil. So
Oregano. Yeah.
anything, oregano,
Oregano. Well,
anything.
I say oregano. I think yeah. There's definitely yeah. Do you say a question? Do you say aluminum or aluminium?
Aluminium. And we
Okay.
say aubergine, not eggplant. Why do you say eggplant? What's that about?
Eggplant. Yeah. I don't know. That's just what I learned. I can't help it. It's conditioning. Sorry, I had to. It
Purple
was right there.
long egg.
Yeah. Right.
But anyway, that and I just add water and olive oil, and it pours, and you cook it a bit, like for 10 minutes in the oven, and then you add your tomato sauce and your toppings. Are you
Sounds
kidding
amazing.
me? So you
Yes.
don't have to cry if you ever you're diagnosed with. I'm sure you won't be, celiac, whatever. You
Right.
just get different flowers. You
There we go.
reframe,
There we go. That's the
move
point of
forward
the.
into pleasure in a different route.
Yeah.
Route.
Ooh. Right. What is it? Reform into pleasure from a different route. Ooh.
Yeah.
Great quote. Great soundbite.
What did
I,
I just say? What did I just say?
I think it was like I probably screwed it up now. I'm paraphrasing.
No.
I'm gonna
You
have that
promise, and
caveat
then
on.
I forget.
Ref.
We,
I already forget. I'll
we,
rewind it and then send it to you. I have like the memory of like one of those fish that after 15 seconds is gone. So good thing I
no,
record things.
it's quite worrying. I sit here and I'm like, God, what if I forget what I was going to say? Thankfully, it hasn't happened yet. But my
Right.
short-term memory, and
Right.
then it downloads because I'm sitting in the now and I've nothing planned, and I didn't know what I was going to say to you. I just
That's
allow it to
right. We've
flow,
talked about
and
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then it flows, but then it's gone.
And then yeah,
I'm like,
it's
what
up
did
and
I
out,
say?
right? Or I guess down
Up
and out in
and
this case. The downloading and
yeah.
out, right? I love it though. So cool. I've loved this conversation. I have one final question for you.
Yeah.
For today, anyways. I definitely want to
Mm-hmm.
get into some more of this stuff as in the future. The
Mm.
importance of creativity. Just
Mm.
say, I know you and I have we connected on this before we started talking. So what is, and this will be in my opinion, a brilliant segue into talking about your book and as a creative endeavor as it was. What can you say about just creativity and why is it so important? And yeah, there's a whole other litany of
Yeah,
questions,
it's
but I'm just
so
gonna
big.
nice and basic.
It's so big. But what's coming to me now is I discovered something a few years ago that really excited me. And that was that creativity and intuition come from the same place.
Mm.
Oh my God. I was like, does anybody else know this? I was out in my geodome, I have a geodesic dome, and I was painting or something. I was like, because I'm so into creativity. I'm a very creative person, and I'm so into intuition, as well. And they married, and I was like, oh my God, intuition and creativity come from the same place. So creativity is just so important in life. It's very much like intuition because it feeds you. I mean, it nourishes you. And when I say creativity, I don't necessarily mean get out your paintbrushes or pick up the instrument. So, because I'm an artist as well, you're a musician. I mean, like if you're a parent and how you parent your children,
Mm.
creative
Mm.
ways you come up. God, it's so like intuition. Ways that you come up with to, you know, raise your children and all that entails, like literally. I'm very much into that parenting. It's because I'm not going to get into this, but I broke generational patterns, and I didn't even know I was doing it. And I totally raised my children completely differently to how I was raised.
Mm.
And, all that I could say was because I was open to listening to my creativity and how
Mm.
that expressed. And so it's basically anything. It could be gardening, cooking. Especially in business. If you have a business and you're doing content creation, how you write a post, writing. I mean, it's all like, for example, I tuned into that book, the book that I wrote, and just made the choice to receive, and it came, and there it was. And I kind of, stood back from it after being kind of in a, no, I don't want to use the word trance because it wasn't, but I received it, and it was so juicy and so fulfilling, Matt. That's why we should be creative, because it's so fulfilling.
Mm.
Because
Mhm,
life can
mhm.
get the minutia of everyday life, and we can get bogged down. And there's this opening that we have the opportunity, this portal that we can walk through, and we can receive information and creative ideas. I mean, it's just so juicy, and it fulfills us, and it enriches our lives. That's why we need to be creative.
Mhm.
We need to open up to that and bring it in, because it's just so enriching. It's
Yeah.
so enriching. I can't
Yeah.
even imagine. I
Yeah.
can't imagine life without creativity.
Yeah. No, that's
You
right.
know?
I love that. That's
And
great.
I want to hear
About your book, where we can find it.
It's called From Longing to Belonging.
There we go.
How to, let me read it. How to, you can finally unlock your own peace, happiness, and fulfillment.
Oh my goodness. That sounds
Yeah,
amazing.
juicy. And it's, I
Very.
have the Becoming Aware listening practice that I referenced in there, and also just explaining, because the mind loves the mind loves the explanation as to why this works, and a bit about trauma. And I really do love it, and I've received lovely feedback.
It's amazing.
Numbing feelings, just little bits on like addiction, numbing feelings, and a few fun bits as well. It's not heavy. Transforming fear, it's very much
Mm.
proactive. The different ways the feelings arise. It's just really practical. And then the practice in the back, it's really practical. And I've got very gratifying feedback about it. I had somebody get onto me the other day who said her life has totally changed, but unexpected things, not just that she's happier and she's released um, baggage from her past that was holding her back, but she lost lots of weight, and she's become
Mm.
an artist, and she now has her
Wow.
studio, and she's become an artist, and just I was
Amazing.
like, oh my God,
Yeah.
it's amazing. Again, when I followed my creative inclination to do this, and then you do it and you put it out into the world, and you realize the ramifications and how it affects other, like it's so
Yeah,
amazing
that
how it
is.
affects other people, and makes other people happier and more fulfilled. Like, that's just incredible. It's
It
incredible. Oh, and I
is.
did the audio book as well.
I was about
I
to
did the
ask you about that.
audio
We
book.
were
We won't
talking
go
about
into
that in our,
that. That
yes.
took a long time. Or the paperback and ebook is available on Amazon.
It's tremendous. Five
Mm.
star reviews. Unanimously 5 stars.
Isn't it great?
That's incredible.
I just dedicated everything to it.
Yeah.
I did the editing myself, believe it or not.
Wow.
Now I can see the sound wave. I can see a sound wave and tell what it
Yes.
looks like.
Yeah.
I can tell the sound by
Yep.
looking at a wave. It's
Yeah.
bananas.
The
But
the visual.
yeah,
So
that was
cool.
it is. It's all
Yeah,
just
so
so
cool.
cool. It
Yeah.
is.
Amazing. That's a lot of work. And so I want to congratulate you on this release of this
You.
book. I want to
Mm-hmm.
say I admire everything that you do. I thank you so much for coming on the show today. I already have a lot of ideas for, and we'll talk about it off the air, just some ideas of potential, other episodes and such. But
Yeah.
final thoughts, Marianne, for today. The floor is yours. Any final quotes or anything
I
you'd like to wrap up with?
Something did come to me, and before I say that, thank you so much for sharing that. If people want to connect with me, they can go to my website, which is letgoandknow.com.
Ooh.
LETGOANDKNOW.com. I'd love to connect, and I have a free gift there about the spiritual reason for procrastination and overwhelm. I mean, you
Ooh.
can't get much more practical than that. And
Yes.
it's like a little masterclass, and it's like a little mini course, and it's complimentary. And I'd love to connect with people anyway. So I'd love it if they went and signed up for that, and we could stay in touch. And one last thing that's just popping in to share with your wonderful viewers and listeners is, please, please, please remember that you are bigger than any problem you have in your life. You're bigger than any problem you have in your life.
Mm.
You're infinite, you're eternal, you're magnificent. I know this for a fact. I'm not going to argue for your limitations. That's all I see. I don't care what you say to me. That's all I see. And you are, next time you feel challenged by anything, just remember that who you are is eternal and magnificent, and even beyond measurement. I don't even have the words for it. So saying it's huge is not even accurate, but you are bigger and well able, well able to handle anything that's going on in your life, because ultimately this reality is like a dream. And I'll just share one of the things that came to me when I was a child. When I was 6, one of the things that came to me was that this world is a dream, it's like an illusion, and it's a projection coming from what is real, which is
Mm.
oneness, which is divine love. And you are one with that. So next time you feel life getting difficult or you feel like you're in struggle, please remember you're not the small self. You're not the small self. You are divine love.
Ooh, love it. We'll put a pin in on that note. Marianne, thank you so much for coming on, and I would love to have you back on for future episodes. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome, Matt.